Interesting, in my sharing about my experiences in developing a pretty sizable following for myself on TikTok, I came across people that called themselves neurodivergents, like a category of people that might include ADHD or autism or different things. And one of the things they talked about was ground up thinking, some kind of elevated sense of justice. And this general confusion and inability to understand people. And I could truly relate to that in certain ways because the one thing that I couldn't understand was irrational, thinking or, people that negate obvious reality. The thing that I could not really recognize was that, when I share ideas, when I share invention ideas, when I share plans, when I take a look at a company and I organize everything and write a whole, employee handbook and totally redesign and remaster and fix a bunch of stuff, that right there is not something that people understand. They could be agreeable, but I didn't know that. So, I'd be afflicted by the negations that, growing up in a world that said I had some kind of learning disability, it actually had me emotionally subordinate to people where I felt immense gratitude by being included in communities, friends, and businesses, that I looked up to the people that would end up sabotaging and betraying me, that I always wanted the best for them. And I would see their potential, and I would see their potential well above and beyond what they could. And I can see those limitations even in their own speaking and the way that they would regard themselves. And I would try to reconcile that. You see, when I've experienced a lack of confidence, it's more related to the world I live in than it is me. That there's a invisibility, that there's a negation, that there's this notion that it doesn't matter what I show people, it doesn't matter how much money I make them. That I could build an engine and make you $100,000 on one order after taking parts from your shop that are sitting around and making a 2,000 horsepower engine, getting myself set up as the author, getting 100,000 Instagram followers to watch me live stream from a publication, be writing articles in magazines, and after having all that and setting up 3 exact engines that are all balanced now, 427 dart blocks with CCW billet cranks and literally high-end Frankenstein billet intakes and cylinder heads, and those parts are in stock, and all we got to do is machine the block and let my 2-day, turnaround time happen with Mitutoyo digital Bluetooth gauges, computer software, and everything's on the Wi-Fi. And that new inventory model is set to unroll on Monday. Rotating assemblies with JE Ultra pistons, Cali's Ultra rods, CCW, those are all balanced, 3 of them. And now we get to see this new system I've created produce 3 to 5 of these like that, where I've even reorganized all the labor items to reduce this 6-month to 1-year turnaround time into a 2-day process that would yield 3 to 5 427s that could be maximum value and require the same labor as that 5.3 rebuild that you signed up for yesterday. Well, knowing we had a container of 50 or so LS blocks, knowing we had wall-to-wall dart blocks, pallets of Frankenstein components, Johnson lifters in stock, everything in stock to put these together in inventory, and having demonstrated that immediate buyers show up when demonstrating this, and also knowing that the turbos I used, there was 3 new ones just like that. If we want to make another 2,000 horsepower engine like mine, it's right there, and we've got a fabricator here, and we've got all the equipment. So why would that get canceled? It would be canceled. That after I did that, all the inventory engines canceled, including the one I sold to that guy. And, a year later, I have to take all of my engines to another machine shop when I'm on my way out, and then finally they're willing to machine the engine that represents the highest level of sales ever achieved here. And so, see, my life is defined by making someone a millionaire in real estate, by pursuing things to the fullest extent of my ability, including everybody, always putting people first and not seeing a hierarchy, seeing people in the fulfillment of their skills, capacities, and abilities, and how that all worked together, and naturally organizing it into something significantly better and even making it as efficient as possible. And I would do that. The problems that happen for me is when people screw it up on purpose, and I don't know that. And so they're throwing hurdles, they're devaluing, they're confusing, and I'm beating my head on the wall. And then I can't answer questions, that they do it on purpose. And trying to explain that to people, it's maddening because those people don't give a shit. They don't listen. It's always your fault. And so living in a world where your best friends, your girlfriends, everybody is this way, your family's this way. I lived a world of nothing but narcissists that would attach themselves, parasitize, use, scam, betray, and smear me over and over and over and over. And it was a trap door. It wouldn't matter how much money I earned them. It would not make a difference. They would scam me. They wouldn't pay me something. They would cheat me somehow. And they would do this willfully and intentionally because now I could see it gave them significant satisfaction because of envy, because they would act as if I'm somehow a smarty pants, a smart aleck, outshining people. Initially, they would be great to have me around, but then their control would be something that they would fight for arbitrarily, and needing to be better than you and subordinate you. Obviously, if you have very good ideas, they're going to have to do the opposite, that they're going to arbitrarily oppose what's objectively in their best interest to sabotage you. That's just the way it works. If you have a good idea and you're dealing with narcissistic people, they're arbitrarily going to just oppose your ideas. They need to be the one in control. They need to be the guy. You don't have those ambitions. I don't have those ambitions. It doesn't make sense to me that I've never really experienced this hierarchy personally, yet I've tried to engage in the worst social environments for that type of mentality. Cars. Holy moly. The worst mentality people whose identities are based on a car, who feel inferior because they need you to do it for them, who negate anything and everything and troll people and entitle themselves to be some kind of connoisseur of the skills of other people, where their opinions they're entitled to. And while they could be victims online to everybody and be piranhas and troll people and destroy businesses and reputations effortlessly and without any consideration, then they want to hold you accountable as if you work at Starbucks and it's one of those hold me back bros. So people that are cowardly narcissists and trolls online naturally hate, negate other people, and then expect that business people are going to make the customers right. That, I can't be a dude. I can't be somebody that would slap the shit out of you for saying those kind of things to me in person. Oh, because a business guy is supposed to have some kind of, social consciousness to where they just have to be nice and polite as if, I worked at Starbucks. Well, that kind of crap just never could work for me. That it is just impossible. Trying to make things and then actually being stupid enough to put all this effort into things like turbo kits and thinking that people would be happy with it. No. I'm in the way. That people will deny everything I do. It doesn't matter if it's objectively good. It doesn't matter what engineering went into it. They don't want to see me do good, or they don't want to have to acknowledge who I am. And then my family's like that. Like my dad will not drive in any car I build. He will not even look at my car. So you think my dad would be curious about a 2,000 horsepower car sitting in the garage when he drives his Corvette here? No. My dad would refuse to ride in any of my cars. And it wasn't because he was scared. It was because for him, those things infringe upon his entitlement to be better than other people, including me. And that's really all it comes down to. So narcissists negate, devalue, subordinate, sabotage, betray, cheat on for their own purposes. And people like me with ground up thinking and objectivity do not detect those things because we don't know that people are not that way. That's the problem. I don't know that. So I would think that you're like me. If I explained things to people, I thought they would understand them. I thought if I illustrated things, that the people that I'm talking to would get it. And especially if they're agreeable, and that's why they beguile you, is because they act like they get it. They act like they're committed, and they're not. That they see an opportunity just to destroy someone, just to punish them in a world that they're inferior within. And so I represent something that they want to destroy and punish. And going through that over and over and over and over, it made me more desperate. It made me more needy of people believing, willing to pay more, willing to be more grateful, willing to make more concessions because I needed to stabilize something to make it work. Yet that was the problem. Not understanding the way that I am, the value of it, and even shrinking it in servitude of the concerns and considerations of the way it impacts people. Always being treated like I'm arrogant, cocky, or talking outside the boundaries of my particular expertise. That's always been the case. And it's been frustrating. It's been trolling. It's been being excommunicated and exiled from friends groups. And if I advance socially in any particular area, then the people turn away from you. Your friends all of a sudden are gone, and it's a weird, empty reality where I'm only viewed as, either a utility or the social implications of aligning with me if things seem to be going bad, that there is no real characterization of me that exists within this world that has any accuracy because I've been in the wrong echelon of society, that I've been at the very lowest rung and trying to bring people up with me, failing to realize that they're stuck there because that's their mentality, that people with severe inferiority, people with this disorder need to control their little life, and you going in there and trying to make things happen is going to always disrupt their need for entitled control and arbitrarily subordinating other people to defend themselves against those inferior feelings that produce envy, that produce this entitled paranoia, which causes them to want to destroy you. See, someone like in my family that could get a single bad review at work will literally go on a rampage and quit that job and be unable to get rehired for 6 months as they rebuild their ego. Yet that same individual could smear and attack me online for a year and get my TikTok profile destroyed, And so they have no mercy. They have an entitlement to hurt and destroy. And some of them are just dangerous people. They could become homicidal. You're talking about puff daddy type people that are beguiling, that most people would, give the key to the city to, but their credibility and their way of integrating and their way of masquerading and smearing people and their, total entitlement to do those types of things, make them insidious and invisible, damaging and destructive. And they're very, very dangerous people. And they're numerous, making up at least half of our population. Many, many covert narcissists, and therapists and psychologists have no concept of how to diagnose them. They don't understand how they really form, nor do they understand what the world is like from their point of view. Not understanding any of the neurological features of these people and their personality types means that they're going to be diagnosed with anything other than NPD. They'll be diagnosed as bipolar, obsessive compulsive, unilateral depression, anxiety disorder, borderline personality disorder, and NPD, especially covert types, will be the last diagnosis they'll ever get because they will never reveal the total bandwidth of their own symptoms, that they have so many different afflictions that they just get addressed independent of the big picture of the reality they live within. mainly because psychology can only subjectively observe behaviors and even miscategorizes a lot of disorders like borderline should not be a cluster B, because that is a very easy, immediately treatable, conversation based, escape from that subjective, nonsensical world of idealization. And I've done it before. But oftentimes, people with that diagnosis are actually covert narcissists. And so therapists do not have any idea on how to differentiate any of these, nor do they even understand the world from somebody with objectivity and creativity and just how difficult that life is and why those children end up traumatized, why they end up, getting stuck in their head, why it is more difficult for them to focus and concentrate. It's because they become, severely afflicted by tasks because they're always negated, because everything they do is always wrong. Because if you have objectivity in this subjective world, you're trampling upon the realities of everyone all the time, because everybody's entitled to an opinion, but people with objectivity don't generally have opinions. Even if it seems that way, they see things and they have way more intelligence as it pertains to the ascertaining of circumstantial reality.